someone in the White House inform the American people when these documents were discovered on November 2nd?
Again, Ed, this is under review by the Department of Justice. It is literally under review right now. As I am talking to you, it is under review.
Well, what's so surprising to me is that this came out before the election. Why does his Department of Justice treat people differently?
Well, now there's a second batch. The Wall Street Journal op-ed had the Biden classified documents stashed. Legal nuances aside, the underlying offense is far too close for safe political comfort. Barring new evidence in the Mar-a-Lago case, half the country would conclude the sitting president is prosecuting his chief political competitor for an offense that he also committed. There it is. And then you had the development today. NBC News first reporting the Biden aides find a second batch of classified documents at a new location. Since November, after the discovery of the documents with classified markings in his former office, Biden aides have been searching for any additional classified materials that might be in other locations he used, and they found some. Let's bring in our panel. Josh Kraushaar is senior political correspondent for Axios. Ben Domenech, editor-at-large for The Spectator, host of the Ben Domenech podcast on Fox News Radio, and Leslie Marshall, Democratic strategist. Josh, Democrats are making a point to say this is apples and oranges. How they handled it was different. But to the Wall Street Journal's op-ed, the perception about handling classified materials is the basic part here.
Yeah, I mean, that is the legal principle at play. And the initial Democratic and White House defense was that there was just, what, 10 documents, but now we know there are more. And there hasn't been a whole lot of transparency from the White House, as we saw in the briefing today. You know, Attorney General Garland is very, very attuned to the perception of fairness. He appointed a U.S. attorney appointed by Trump to do the initial investigation. So it does seem like there is some momentum for a special counsel to kind of have the same standard in how he dealt with the Trump situation with the documents, as we're learning that there are very strong similarities between this case and what happened at Mar-a-Lago. You
heard the chairs of the Senate and the House Intelligence Committee both have concerns that they haven't been briefed on any of this, the Mar-a-Lago documents or this, and there's a call for a special counsel in this. I'd be interested to see if that happens in this administration.
I think it should. I really think it should, because, you know, you just talked about, you know, Garland knowing about fairness, and it would be fair, you know, to do that. Also, so right now, you have the American public not thrilled with the DOJ and with the FBI. And when you look at the American public's perception, and their perception is their reality, if you have a special counsel for one president and you are appointed and you are the attorney general under a Democratic president and you're not going to play by the same rules, that's a problem. I have heard a number of Republicans say, and it's not a headline because it's not a sexy headline, that Biden did nothing wrong here. But one thing I think the White House did wrong is, because they did report it right away, they contact their attorneys, National Archives, DOJ, they should have put it out there and say, hey, look, we found these, get in front of it.
Yeah,
get ahead.
There's this thing that happened in between. It was the midterms. I mean, it was discovered before the midterms. We don't find out until after the midterms, and that's a part of the story too, Ben.
Well, I appreciated the fact that Ed O'Keefe from CBS was so tough on Karine Jean-Pierre today on exactly that point, which is that there's the perception that you played politics with this. And one of the things I think is very important here is that we get caught up in the hypocrisy of it. But the problem is the illegality of it. If you're going to go after Donald Trump for violating the letter of the law in any kind of respect as it relates to this kind of thing, then you have to have the same level of investment when it comes to the then former vice president and now president of the United States when it comes to his handling of similar materials. There cannot be a separation in terms of how seriously we take these different things.
Last thing on this, here's Jonathan Turley on the documents investigation. And with a House control of those committees, one would think this is going to be investigated.
Yeah, it's going to be a central part of House Republican oversight. And the timing of this, too, is very interesting in that the Clinton emails, going back to the 2016 election, that was right before the election. Comey had that very high-profile press conference. We do know that Biden, this happened 2 days before the midterm elections. The White House chose not to disclose it, obviously putting politics ahead of the transparency.
This comes as the president wraps up this trip to Mexico and to the border. Here's the White House on that today.
He has done more than any prior president to secure the border and build a safe, orderly, and humane immigration system. He went to the Migrant Center, which was a critical place to be. There happened to be no migrants at the facility at the time that he visited. What he's going to continue to call on is for Congress, Republicans, to actually take action and really deal with this crisis, this issue.
Didn't want to call it a crisis at the end there, Leslie, but you know, he went down to the border, but the question is what has happened up until this point and what they're asking Congress to do.
Okay, a couple of things. Timing on both what you said, if I may, real quick. It is, to me, sorry for the grassy knoll here, you know, we got a second set of documents after we have a speaker confirmed finally and Republicans take over the House. Timing on that. But timing on the border, I had said prior to President Biden being elected, and once he was elected, and certainly when he appointed the vice president, you got to get down there. You have to see it with your own eyes. You have to see what's going on. Some of a defense, I would say, to any president when people say, well, he didn't, you know, talk to this neighbor, or, you know, this person's business or this migrant. I think we all know the president's schedule is not done by them. You know, they have a staff that takes care of that. There's Secret Service and security involved. But you know, look, I think it's about time. But the president is right. Any president, Democrat or Republican, can only do so much. This lies in the hands of Congress, and Democrat and Republicans have been negligent to do what they need to do, which is overhaul our immigration system. That's comprehensive legislation.
I think that it's very interesting that there were no migrants at the facility when President Biden was there. I feel like they were covered up like a certain ship was covered up in Asia when President Trump visited. I would like to find out about any kind of communication between the White House, Border Patrol, and the DHS regarding that fact.
Yeah, I mean, there were 9 people who were coming across in Griff's live shot tonight, so it's tough to see how they missed him. Ben, best to Megan and your baby-to-be. Last show for a while.
Last show for a little bit. Last show for a little bit. Knock on wood.
All
everything's gonna be going great, and I will have no sleep for the foreseeable future.
All the best. All the best. Thank you.